Okay, so listen to this. It's important to note this isn't the first time that Langley and other U.S. military bases across the country, including outlying U.S. territories, as well as critical civilian infrastructure, have been subjected to mysterious drone overflights. U.S. warships have been swarmed off the coast of the United States. U.S. military aircraft also routinely encountering these drones in various test and training ranges and other restricted military operating areas. America's nuclear power plants have had very troubling encounters with drone swarms. Langley has been subjected to unauthorized drone incursions before then that the Air Force acknowledged had both disrupted operations at the base and highlighted potential threats as well. One day last week, I had two small UASs that were interfering with operations. At one base, Langley, the gate guard, watched one fly over the top of the gate check, tracked it while it flew over the flight line for a little while, and then flew back out and left. So if you've got a 401 or an IRA, if you convert it into precious metals like gold and silver and platinum, all about options, you will be gifted, if you qualify, if you convert through Noble Gold Investments, a 10-ounce solid silver bar. Or if you prefer, you could get these limited edition Trump rounds. You could get 10 of these. Your choice, 10 ounces, solid silver. Silver's done very well this year. And with the amount of solar panels and the amount of green technologies that require silver, like they may not be able to mine enough, even if they raise prices substantially. So there's a lot of upside in silver also. Definitely give Noble Gold Investments a call, 1-877-646-5347, and go to leakprojectgold.com, get the free ebooks, and ask how you can get a free copy of Silver is the New Oil. And let's get back to the podcast right now, shall we? Breaking news. They're putting protective nets around F-22s to hide them from mysterious drones. And this is at Langley. And we're talking about F-22s. Read all about it, the war zone. This is big news, yet not many people are talking about it. And when they do, so I've been thinking about this. Last year, there were several drone sightings that were unexplained, like unidentified drones. Maybe they're ours, maybe they're somebody else's, maybe they're interstellar. But the news kind of got taken over, and it was a spy balloon from China, and then it was another spy balloon, but they don't know where the spy balloon came from. So I think that there's some cloak and dagger kind of stuff going on here, especially when I did some more research and the war zone picked up on this. This is a remarkable story, and it's in reference to when mysterious drones swarmed Langley for weeks. So let's look at this article first. Mysterious drones swarmed Langley Air Force Base for weeks. This is from the war zone. And Langley is one of the most strategic areas in the country, across from the Chesapeake Bay and sprawling Naval Station Norfolk and the open Atlantic, was at the epicenter of waves of mysterious drone incursions that occurred throughout December. The war zone has been investigating these incidents and the response to these incidents for months. We know that they were so troubling and persistent that they prompted bringing in advanced assets from around the U.S. government, including one of NASA's WB-57F high-flying research planes. So I can show you what one of those looks like real quick. The NASA Airborne Science Program provides a unique set of NASA-supported aircraft that benefit the Earth science community. These manned and unmanned aircraft carry the sensors that provide data to support and augment NASA's spaceborne missions. So this is for NASA's spaceborne missions. And they've been flying this thing all over around Langley. Very interesting. So Langley has a bunch of mysterious drones swarming the airfields. So they send out the big guns, the WB-57 high altitude research airplane. What the heck are they doing with that? Now, Langley is huge. Langley and Eustis Joint Air Force Base and military base makes up over 3,600 acres in size, home to over 18,000 Air Force and Army personnel, as well as their families, civilians, contractors, retirees. The base's mission is to provide installation support and expeditionary airmen to combatant commanders. Now check this out. The 633 Logistics Readiness Squadron is based in Langley, Eustis, where many of these UFO, UAP drone sightings have been spotted and documented. Langley is massive, beautiful area out there right off the water. Chesapeake Bay, as you can see. So this is the area, East Coast. Let's go back to the article from the war zone. So there's a spike in bizarre drone incursions that deeply underscore the growing threats that uncrewed aerial systems present on and off traditional battlefields and to military and critical civil and civilian infrastructure. Issues the war zone has been highlighting in great details for years. The installation first observed UAS, uncrewed aerial systems, activities the evening of December 6, 2023, and experienced multiple incursions throughout the month of December. The number of UASs fluctuated, and they ranged in size and configuration, a spokesperson for Langley Air Force Base told the war zone in a statement earlier today. None of the incursions appeared to exhibit hostile intent, but anything flying in our restricted airspace can pose a threat to flight safety. The FAA was made aware of the UAS incursions. To protect operational security, we do not discuss impacts to the operations, the statement added. We don't discuss our specific force protection measures, but retain the right to protect the installation. Langley continues to monitor our airspace and works with local law enforcement and other federal agencies to ensure the safety of base personnel, facilities, and assets. Now, the first thing that I thought of when I read that was, okay, there's different sizes of these UAP or these drones, whatever you want to call them, and they can't figure out what they are. So they call up NASA and they say, hey, bring in the WB-57 that does research missions with space. That's very telling. The science operations flight systems are working around Langley after these UAP sightings. And then they try and downplay it even more. And they're like, well, they're just drones. They're just drone sightings. So we're going to call them a UAS, uncrewed aerial systems. And that makes sense also. What makes this even more fascinating is Langley is one of the very few bases that hosts F-22 Raptors. F-22 Raptors, Lockheed Martin's F-22 Raptors are considered the air superiority fighters. Now, there's been a lot of alleged problems with the F-22s, but they are one hell of a spacecraft, or one hell of an aircraft. I mean, they are super, super powerful. And let's just take a look at this real quick. The F-22 is an American twin-engine, all-weather supersonic stealth fighter aircraft developed and produced for the United States Air Force. As a product of the United States Air Force's Advanced Tactical Fighter program, the aircraft was designed as an air superiority fighter to replace the F-15. It also incorporates ground attack, electronic warfare, and signals intelligence capabilities. The prime contractor, Lockheed Martin, built most of the F-22s and weapon systems and conduct final assembly, while program partner Boeing provides the wings, the fuselage, the aft fuselage, avionics, integration, and training systems. Now, this joint base houses dozens of these F-22s, and it's also home to the 633D Logistics Readiness Squadron. Take a look at that hatch. It's pretty cool. Look at all these flying triangles going with the sun. Sustained excellencia. Sustained excellence. Look at some of these patches. These patches are very cool. One of them has got a Pegasus. cloud with lightning bolts and an arrow. This one's pretty cool. Bravo Flight 633D Security Forces Squadron. It's like a Viking with one. He's got one horn, one's missing. His massive axe, double-sided axe. And then you've got an interesting symbol here above the Earth in the Civil Engineering Squadron. Lead the way. It's like a Freemason symbol a bit to me. And then you've got, what is this, a Centurion? Half human, half horse. Med readiness, operational medical readiness squadron patch. Very cool patches for 633. I did some research into the number 633, and I haven't been able to find a lot about it. So if you know something about 633, the significance of that number, I'd love to hear it. The Airbase wing leadership, Colonel Matthew Altman, Colonel Stephen Dillenberger, and then Command Chief David Culkin. Some legends right there. And now, after this swarm of UAPs harasses basically Langley for weeks, now Warzone has found information about protective nets that are being commissioned to shield F-22s eyed for airbase swarmed by mysterious drones. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But let's go back to this article real quick here. Mysterious drones swarmed Langley Air Force Base for weeks. So Langley hosts F-22 Raptors, and it's particularly important for supporting NORAD and Northcom's missions to defend the U.S. homeland, including protecting the nation's capital and Washington, D.C. The Newport News area is also home to critical U.S. Navy and commercial shipyard facilities, the aforementioned Naval Station Norfolk, the large naval base on the East Coast and home to roughly half of America's carrier fleet. It's located just to the southeast. A host of other military installations are also dotted throughout the broader area, including Naval Air Station Oceana, the Navy's Master Tactical Jet Base on the East Coast, and Dam Neck Navy Special Warfare's East Coast headquarters. Now, whether or not any other facilities in the area experienced these drone incursions around the same time is not clear. Although the mysterious drone incursions extended beyond Langley, the situation prompted a series of responses, causing significant shocks throughout the U.S. military. Also remembering that it is the Air Force's job to protect American airspace, not the Navy's. Having a base tasked with this mission and its airspace getting penetrated for weeks on end is clearly not the best look, according to this article, especially after major lapses in domain awareness and air defenses capabilities were recently spotlighted by the Chinese spy balloon saga. At a hearing before the Senate Armed Services Committee yesterday, U.S. Air Force General Gregory Gillett, currently head of U.S. Northern Command, Northcom, and the U.S. Canadian North American Defense Command, NORAD, made what appears to be the first public acknowledgement of the incidents at Langley. Gillett, who had previously been Deputy Commander of U.S. Center Command, CENTCOM, took the reins of Northcom and NORAD in February. Upon taking command, I began a 90-day assessment to inform the Department of Defense, the Joint Force, and Congress on NORAD and Northcom's ability to execute assigned tasks and make recommendations on where the commands could or should do more. Gillett said in his opening remarks, "Once complete, I look forward to sharing my findings and updated vision on how NORAD and Northcom will best execute the noble mission of Homeland Defense. As part of my 90-day assessment, to tell the truth, the counter-UAS, uncrewed aircraft systems mission has dominated that so far in the first month. Of course, I knew it was an issue coming from another combatant command, CENTCOM, where we faced that threat in a very different way because of the environment," the NORAD and Northcom commander said towards the end of the hearing. "But I wasn't prepared for the number of incursions that I see. I've gone into the events at Joint Base Langley, Eustis, and I'm using that as a centerpiece of my 90-day assessment. Pretty powerful statement right there. So this is a known phenomenon at the upper brass. So they must be talking about stuff behind the scenes also in preparation for what's going on. Because when you're the crown jewel Air Force Base and you're being stalked and surveyed by drones that you're not capturing and you don't know what they are, that's not good. In response to queries from the war zone, the Shared Public Affairs Office for NORAD and NORTHCOM said that the two commands were aware of the issues. General Gillett had referred to this in his testimony, but directed us to contact the Office of the Secretary of Defense and the U.S. Air Force for more information. Plane spotters using online flight tracking software tracked unusual activity in the skies over and around Langley and the rest of the Newport News area last December. This included a flurry of aerial activity, including what looked like to be Air Force F-16 fighters conducting combat air patrols supported by aerial refueling tankers over Newport News and other parts of southeastern Virginia around December 12, 2023. Online flight tracking software then showed one of NASA's WB-57F aircraft with the U.S. civil registration number N927NA flying circular orbits with Langley at the center the following week. 8 F-16s, 4 tankers, 2 separate combat air patrols over Virginia yesterday. Was this a real-world event or exercise ending at approximately 600 Zulu? Now, this article is at the end of last year, so this isn't just from a few days ago. This is from several months ago. You can see December 13th, 2023. Okay, so this is from the Intel Frog, and this is showing that NASA research plane doing circles around Langley. That's interesting. They're saying there's a 75-knot wind coming from the southwest as it's doing this perfect circle around Langley. Look at that, folks. That's wild. They're definitely trying to scope something there. Now, NASA's trio of WB-57s are specialized research aircraft that can be configured to carry a wide array of imaging and other sensors and equipment in their noses and other modular payload bays. In cooperation with NASA, the U.S. military has made use of these aircraft on various occasions in the past to support operational and test and evaluation type missions. NORAD has been conducting its routine mission of aerospace warning and aerospace control. We can confirm we conducted flight activities over Virginia various times over the past couple weeks. A spokesperson from the NORAD Northcom Public Affairs Office told the War Zone at the time. U.S. Northcom has been coordinating with the FBI as it is consistent with the combatant command's coordinating role, but I have yet to refer you to the FBI on the nature of the law enforcement issue. The FBI declined to comment at that time. The Bureau did so again when the War Zone reached back. Okay, so listen to this. It's important to note this isn't the first time that Langley and other U.S. military bases across the country, including outlying U.S. territories, as well as critical civilian infrastructure, have been subjected to mysterious drone overflights. U.S. warships have been swarmed off the coast of the United States. U.S. military aircraft also routinely encountering these drones in various test and training ranges and other restricted military operating areas. America's nuclear power plants have had very troubling encounters with drone swarms, yet the frequency and nature of the incursions in Virginia sound eerily similar to the bizarre claims of unidentified drone swarms roving over the plains of Colorado in the winter of 2019 and 2020. I remember that. And then it went on, 90% of them were they were planes, they were just, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. But anyway, that can't be confirmed. Maybe they all were just, airplanes and birds. But the government response to those incidents was something of a meek sideshow compared to what clearly occurred regarding the Langley incidents, a sign of just how much more serious these incidents are being taken. All this in addition to the strange encounters between the U.S. Navy fighter aircraft and unidentified craft that have occurred persistently for years, just off the coast of where Langley is located. Based on investigative reporting by the War Zone, some of these were directly identified as drones and pilot hazard reports obtained via FOIA. Then here's a quote. Similar swarming strikes could be unleashed behind the front lines as well, with hugely expensive and low-density, high-demand combat aircraft being especially vulnerable to this sort of tactic, something General James Holmes alluded to inadvertently while speaking to the Air Force Association, stating, "Imagine a world where somebody flies a couple hundred of these and flies one down the intake of my F-22s with just a small weapon on it. Actually, it would be even easier to just strike the jets as they sit idle and vulnerable on the flight line. One swarm could see a whole squadron of tightly packed fighters destroyed without even having a chance to fight back." In his testimony before the Senate yesterday, NORAD and Northcom head General Gillett said bluntly that his 90-day assessment was heavily focused on where the two commands can and should do more, as this emerging capability outstrips the operational framework that we have to address it. Wow. So what's interesting is, now that we know about this drone swarm, this unexplained drone swarm, now let's take a look at the article from the War Zone: Protective Nets to Shield F-22s Eyed for Airbase Swarmed by Mysterious Drones. So Langley is looking to install anti-drone nets to help protect F-22 Raptor stealth fighters on the flight line. This comes nearly a year after the base was subjected to waves of still mysterious drone incursions, which the War Zone was first to report. It also underscores the U.S. military's continued lag when it comes to responding to the very real threats posed by uncrewed aerial systems at home and abroad, and particular hurdles to doing so domestically. Langley's 633rd Contracting Squadron put out a notice October 4th asking for information about potential counter-drone netting, which could be installed around 42 existing open-ended sunshade-type shelters at the base. Langley, now technically part of the Joint Base Langley Eustis, is one of select few bases hosting F-22s, and it's a key component of the Air Force's posture to defend the United States homeland. The 633rd is in the process of determining the acquisition strategy to obtain non-personal services for the unmanned aerial services netting for East Ramp metal sunshades. According to the contracting notice, the intention of the netting is to deter and ultimately prevent the intrusion of UASs near airmen and aircraft. This initial sunshade netting installation on the metal sunshade, Bay Alpha 1, shall serve as a proof of concept for the remaining sunshades. The netting should be capable of disabling a Group 1 small unmanned aerial system, such as the DJI Mattress 300 RTK. It's a DJI drone. It's a big one. So they're using that as an example. I'll show you what that looks like real quick too. This is the Mattress 300 RTK. So it's showing that it can be used for like first responders, etc. Using that as an example, the netting should be capable of disabling a Group 1 small unmanned aerial systems, such as the DJI Mattress 300 RTK, while remaining attached. The notice explains, per the U.S. military's definitions, drones in Group 1 can have weights up to 20 pounds, fly up to 1,200 feet, and reach speeds up to 100 knots. The netting shall be composed of a UV-resistant, moisture-resistant material capable of withstanding temperatures up to 400 Fahrenheit without damage. It shall also have a tensile strength of 200 pounds or greater. Polyester or nylon are preferred materials, but any material with adequate properties is acceptable. Netting squares shall be no larger than 3 inches across. The notice adds, additional hardware and cabling should be strong enough to support the net and potential push or pull due to the 40-mile-per-hour winds when the netting is deployed and 120 mile per hour winds, 3-second gusts when netting is retracted and stowed. When retracted, stowed, the netting must be adequately secured. Lead core or other forms of weights installed along the bottom of the netting may be necessary to prevent the netting from blowing into aircraft or personnel. Design may include recessed anchoring to existing concrete pad. Alternate means of anchoring the netting may also be acceptable. However, the nets are configured and installed. The 633rd says the need to be quickly and easily retractable so F-22s can get in and out without issue. The installations also can't impede movement along the adjacent taxiways in any way. What this looks like real quick here. So this is a concept of the metal sunshade, dimensions. Pretty cool. In May, the 4th Contracting Squadron at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina put out a similar call for potential passive drone defense options, which could also include nets to help protect that base's F-15E Strike Eagle combat jets. Langley has been subjected to unauthorized drone incursions before then that the Air Force acknowledged had both disrupted operations at the base and highlighted potential threats as well. One day last week, I had 2 small UASs that were interfering with operations. At one base, Langley, the gate guard, watched one fly over the top of the gate check, tracked it while it flew over the flight line for a little while, and then flew back out and left. Now retired Air Force General James Mike Holmes, then head of Air Combat Command, ACC, said back in 2017, imagine a world where somebody flies a couple hundred of those and flies one down the intake of my F-22s with just a small weapon on it. When that news emerged, the war zone noted that it would be ever easier for a hostile actor to simply target aircraft exposed while parked on the flight line. Doing so would also offer adversaries a means to neutralize large number of planes before they could even get into flight. The war zone has otherwise been sounding the alarm about threats posed on and off traditional battlefields by drones, including small commercial types like the DJI Mattress 300 RTK mentioned in the 633rd's contracting notice that can be readily weaponized for many years now. Worrisome incidents around U.S. bases, other military assets domestically, including ships off the coast of Southern California, aircraft flying in restricted airspace, as well as the critical non-military infrastructure within the United States, have only continued to emerge in recent years. In August, the war zone reported on a series of mysterious drone incursions around the Air Force's Plant 42 in Palmdale, California, which ultimately led to the imposition of new temporary flight restrictions around the facility. Plant 42 is a top hub for advanced aerospace development work, including highly classified military programs like the B-21 Raider stealth bomber. This is a concerning trend. It's also been emerging globally with new technologies, new capabilities. These drones could advance substantially in a very short amount of time. And some of the drones that we've been observing for the past 20 years almost, are they ours? Are they our adversaries? Are they from a highly advanced civilization that broke away many years ago and continued to advance while most of the world continued to rebuild from a major cataclysm? Are they from another planet? I mean, all of these are questions that I'm asking right now. It's pure speculation. So clearly the military is doing what they can to prevent their aircraft and personnel, and what they're doing, they're trying to prevent it from being captured with these drones. I mean, clearly these drones, whatever they are, they're observing our military and getting as much data as they can. What are your thoughts, folks? Let me know in the comments section. Hit the bell, be well. Check us out on Patreon. Tons of exclusive content. And we have tons of exclusive content at leapproject.com. Thousands of long format interviews with guests from around the world that you're only going to find at Leap Project. Check out Noble Gold Investments. You'll thank me later. And be a change you want to see.